been going for that Warlock Sash on the Raijin. Why do you feel as though he's prioritizing that?
It's just, it's not particularly great early and you don't have movie speed for it, but it just scales so well later on in the game.
It just seems that he's always protected by a Milzy. He's never left in a situation that he's by himself, and that's something that Obey Alliance do so well. They've been through it all together. Second place at Worlds last year. They know how to play off of each other, and they know where their strengths and weaknesses lie, and that's why Pretty Prime goes for the Warlock Sash, building for that mid to late game.
Well, we're already seeing some pretty standard bans and Elevate, zero hesitation though. They want to keep that Kakolin out of Obey's hands.
Like I said, I like the Cuckoo ban a lot. I'm not so sure about the Osiris ban. Osiris is strong, but is he this strong that we need to consistently keep him away from failure?
Same exact picks and bans in all 3 games to start things off. Elevate first picking this Artio. Now, they do have that flexibility with this pick. They don't necessarily know where it's going to go. Hou Yi, yet again, prioritized by Obey Alliance, similar to last game.
I'd almost say we're looking at the exact same picks and bans from game number 2 and be questioning some things, but I know that this is live, so that couldn't possibly be the case. And it is still Raijin on the table. Elevate do have the opportunity to strip away that Raijin from Obey. Do you think they're going to take it?
I think they're going double ADC, triple Guardian again.
That's just Elevate's game plan, I think, that they want to deploy here, at least in this set against Obey Alliance. Maybe they think that Obey Alliance aren't really truly prepared for it, but picking up this Kabrak and the AMC and Raijin for Obey, it's the same exact picks and bans as game number 2.
Oh, I'm even double checking that right now
it is,
because,
yeah,
it is 100% the exact same first 3 picks and bans from both teams. And if you're Obey right now, how would you be feeling knowing that you're going to be able to get this Raijin run back?
I mean, you're at this point, both teams are saying, all right, we liked our comp. We don't care what you had. We misplayed it, and that's why we lost. Right? When you pick like that or just keep running it back, we're confident with what we did, but we made the mistakes. Like, it's on our end, and we can win this time.
Well, Elevate are not expecting to get pulled through the tier 1 mid tower yet again the way Death Panther did. I'm expecting a little bit of a different style from that time around, and I think that their game plan going into it was wise, but a little bit of a switch up here with this Ymir ban, taking that off the table as opposed to the Xing Chen as game number 2.
So many Guardians have already been eliminated, but of course there's always a couple left behind. You can't get rid of all of them, unfortunately, for Obey and Elevate. Everybody knows their play style, but Jeff, would you almost expect them to maybe try something different as opposed to that triple Guardian?
With how they're playing, no. I really think they know exactly what they want, and they're getting what they want. They don't need to switch it. I think they've been performing relatively well, and yeah, they're good to go.
There's no pressure on Death Panther or Jermaine here with this triple Guardian composition. Giving so much of a buffer for your backline allows them to free cast. And I think maybe that's also allowing Death Panther more than Jermaine that comfort in a LAN environment, because he's only been in one previous LAN before, didn't have the most success, and against such a stacked, experienced team of Obey Alliance, allowing your mid player that ease of mind can just work out big here.
Absolutely. I mean, a huge part of LAN is being comfortable at LAN, right? And if you're a mid lane player and you know you have 3 other people that are there to protect you, you feel great.
And that Xing 10 selection actually making sure that Elevate couldn't look for that option either. So now the pressure's really on if Elevate want to keep this triple Guardian composition going. We know that Dardas has an insane Ares, but I feel as though the comp that Obey already has is just a little bit too risky to try drafting that into.
I don't think you can pick Ares here into Hou Yi and Raijin, right? Whenever you ult, you get punished so hard, so fast, you can't do it.
Do we see Nox for Dardas?
Yes,
that's
Nox.
what we want to see. Some good old-fashioned Dardas Nox, really controlling any sort of engage that Obey Alliance might want to throw at them.
And for the Nox as well, when you're mostly looking for silences, I'd assume, as a support player. But who do you think that Dardas should probably be prioritizing on those silences?
On the silences, I think you just try and stop Raijin's 1, and you look to just root and silence Sylve. I think you just keep Syld in place and you punish him all game.
Try to get him out of position. Try to make sure that you put him in combat, preventing him from blinking. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Maybe sticking a mystical mail onto Artio, whether that's going to be Soul Lane or the jungle here. I'm really excited to see Elevate's next 2 picks because with Xingqian, Ymir off the table, Ares a little too risky. Sobek is a viable option in the Guardian role as well, but knowing Elevate, you could just never really predict the direction they're going.
That's the most fun part, though, when it comes to Dardes. He's just one of those players where you know he has that aggressive god pool to take away from and keep enemy teams really just guessing the entire time. But for Obey, they still haven't picked up their jungler. They've been leaving the last pick jungle for Twig all the matches so far. Do you expect him to go for the Nemesis or Circuit again?
Right now, I mean, Cirque worked well. I don't see a reason to change it.
Considering he's going to be against the Artio and the Muscab, and there he goes, the Nox support. I called it, and Dardes is bringing it live here in game number 3.
And it won't be followed up by that Athena that we saw the last time Elevate brought this one out, but it's still going to be a very fun matchup. And Elevate, they have a ton of space control. That's really the main thing I'm looking at for their draft right now.
Obey Alliance are going to be truly tested this time around with this best of 5 now shifting into the best of 3. There's less room for error.
And, of course, with the Circuit being the last pick choice. Looking at Elevate's draft, though, even though they didn't take away the Raijin, do you think the Nox is enough of an improvement to remove that fear of the Raijin?
I think Nox is going to do great this game.
I think Nox will do good as well, whether or not you control people or use your ultimate just to mitigate some of Pretty Prime's damage.
Well, I'm certainly excited to see how game number 3 pans out, so it'll be the casters taking us away.
Thank you, Taco, and the rest of the desk.
Where are we taking them away to?
We're taking them away to Game 3, a magical land where Nox support being pulled out by Dardes, and we get to see what's happening.
I've got to say, the desk, though, good job on the Nox pick there, because it's what to expect more than likely with the sort of bans away from Dardes there. Godpull was limited for him against a Xingqian and a Circuit. Nox is really useful. Obviously, Assassins really get shut down by Nox with those silence areas. Big game for Dardes, though. Big game for Dardes. He's going to make sure he lands these routes time and time again, and where he puts these silence fields down on the floor going to be very influential in how these fights break down.
I'm not too worried about it, though. We've seen Dardes play this Nox before, and we know he can do it at a high level. It'll be really disruptive. That's how they got some of their big wins over the split, really, was Dardes on this Nox. So I'm not too worried about his level of execution. This is the first time, though, that they're taking an actual mage into the game with him in the mid lane.
But in support.
In support, though. You're right, not even in the mid lane.
It's a mage, but it's not even in a carry role. It's in a supportive role. It is a great character, though, in the support playstyle. Silence prevents a lot of damage. The root cripple is also very impactful, especially against the likes of assassins like a Circuit, for example, and even Ataraxia, who will have to beat to leap away from that. And not only that, the ultimate coming out from Nox 2 isn't just for damage, it also reduces damage done. One thing they have had an issue with Elevate is dealing with the Raijin, getting to the backline to get to the Raijin. That ultimate could weave its way through to the backside from Nox, reduce the damage output Prime can provide in these teamfights.
They can't have thought Pretty Prime in this Raijin was too big a deal, though, because they just continue to let him have it game after game. He and Emilzy have not had to shift.
Realistically, I wasn't happy about the first 3 picks from both teams being a salty run back to an extent. I understand that both teams feel like they both made mistakes, which they did. But I just didn't like the idea of giving everyone comfort. I would have even liked Elevate to take away the Raijin. Why not take away the Raijin from Prime and go, you know what? You ain't having this because we've not been able to deal with it any of the games, even if we won one of them. Instead, we should have just been able to play, you know, a little bit different by making sure Raijin isn't available for Prime to just swing away on the backlines with.
They're continuing to do this 2v2 start over in duo, though this time it's Death Panther and Cheerio who are in mid, leaving Prime alone so they can get the pressure. Instead, in solo, up against no numbers.
No real surprise to see Sylvanas and Hou Yi outclaiming a Nox and a Rama. Obviously, though, it's going to be a bit tricky if Cheerio does wrap round here towards this corner. He may just go for the purple over going for actual fighting in the lane, but after the purple goes down, he may look for a gank.
That's what he could be looking for, to try and shut down Emil's and Ataraxia, who are comfortable with the pressure that they have, so they might even look to just move up a little bit. But Cheerio is going to take that purple buff, then go ahead and back off as Ataraxia and Emilzy just kind of clear that wave on out.
Well, once the wave's dead too, you don't really want to stay there as Dardes and Jermaine either. There's no point to unless you're going to go for the kill, which is going to get telegraphed to Obey. You also saw Emilzy, because he's a big lumbering tree, you can actually see him twist his body to keep an eye and checking on the jungle because they know Cheerio's missing, but Cheerio's been found.
Cheerio has indeed been found. Emilzy and Ataraxia going in on him to shut him down. He does get the stun off, but the sprint's enough for them to shut that down. First blood once again going to Obey.
Just don't like that little play out of Cheerio there. He knew that there was no pressure with his lanes. lanes. His lanes as well didn't really call that as well, I guess. Comms need to have got a little bit clearer there. Cherio got greedy going for the backs. We saw, you know, Twig was the inventor of stealing away the back harpies. Loved the idea behind it. But you've got to make sure you have some pressure in the lanes. And at that moment in time, neither mid or duo had any pressure on it, which meant free kill because everyone's just going to rotate and collapse onto him.
Not just any pressure, but no eyes either. I believe Jermaine and Dardes were trying to go over towards those
doing
oracles.
Yeah.
So it's like they think Emilzy and Ataraxia are going over to recognize, oh, our purple's been taken, but instead they're going to get him.
Let's be honest, if your purple's down, where'd you go and check next? Oh, I guess we might just check out back harpies. There might be someone there. Oh, there is! Surprise! Free kill. Thank you so much.
And over here on the solo lane side, Captain Twig and Zalia just kind of sitting on top of No Numbers. Look at Captain Twig just lurking on the side, waiting to see if No Numbers will come up too far. He has ticked over to level 5, so they've got both their ults and even possible kill potential.
But No Numbers being very aware that he could get pressure from Circuit. He's just sat under his tier 1. He's like, you know what? I'll just stay here. I'll be okay. I'll live through the early game by not losing any pressure. I know Jermaine and Dardes are just going to be happy to farm up on this left-hand side. And with Cherio dying early on, he knows he's not going to get much support from him for the timing. Oh, Ataraxia took a little bit more than he bargained for from that nicely placed route.
Yeah, Dardes doing a good job following up on Ataraxia, landed back down to get some good poke. Another game where they're starting off maybe just a little bit slow, aside from Cheerio, who kind of was in no man's land, certainly not where he wanted to be. But either way, Obey Alliance have kind of gotten off to a good start in every game, it felt like, so far this set, or at least most of them. So it hasn't been the big determining factor. They're going late so far.
Yeah, that's the main game from them as well. With the triple Guardian, we've said it a couple of times now. Well, not triple Guardian this time, but double Hunter is the best way of putting it. They are going to look to take it late. No Numbers recognizing as well, like going for this teleport again this game round. This is just to make sure that if he does get abused early on, and if he does get a lot of focus from Twig and makes a couple of mistakes, he's not going to lose too much in terms of farm because he can just rotate around there. He's also going to get pressured in the lane by the Jing 10 anyway. So why not have teleport to get to the team fights late and keep pressure in the lane? That's why teleport is still technically useful.
That's what he's going for here. Once again, it looks like Pretty Prime, though, is going to be free to go for that Warlock Sash. And that's something he's done every single game.
Sure.
And that's why I'm a little surprised Elevate haven't put more pressure. As they said on the desk, that gets better the later the game goes.
Without realizing it, though, that knocks is just a little bit more pressure for Pretty Prime. If he wants to engage some of these fights, which we've seen Prime do now and again, where he actually just ports all the way into the fight and hits 3, then a silence field appears underneath him. You can't ult, you're going to have to beat. Or he can ult him in the backline when he's going for that ultimate potentially as well. Reduce the damage, get some free poke off.
Either way, he'll have a chance to try and slow down somewhat Pretty Prime's doing, since they haven't felt like banning it out. At least maybe do something that can slow him down as Captain Twig going back there for his own backs as that speed bus about to come up for him. But the real neutral camp are these oracles that Ataraxia is going to have to try and steal away from Elevate.
And now, this day and age, like the ward vision is useful a little bit. Obviously, there's not many early goal furies, but it does limit a rotation option from one of the teams of not being spotted on the map coming over, specifically junglers. Junglers like to run through that gold fury pit to try and get an angle onto duo lane or wrap around towards mid sometimes away from those left or right harpies. Problem is, though, is that ward vision does allow you to make sure the options are a little bit limited for a few moments' time.
In this Game 3, it's so important here, Graham. This is where, that I talked about a little bit on the desk, where when you get that Game 2, now you've got the pressure on them. If you win one more game, the set's done. So the team that goes down, where they got to win 2 in a row, that's rough. They're the ones playing with a little bit more pressure. So that's what's on the back of their minds here right now, is how important this Game 3 is. We're really in a best of 3 now.
We really are in a best of 3, but the first 2 games felt like, to an extent, they were warm-ups to feel each other out. What's the composition? What's the meta we're going to play in this set specifically? This meta may be not one of the many different versions of the meta we may see over the course of this weekend. We've still got Energy to see, Dignitas later on today facing off against Rival. I guarantee you they'll have their own takes on this meta as well, of what they're going to run. And at the end of the day, eventually everyone will just decide on one, and we'll probably see that towards the finals and the later stages of this week.
And you were talking a little bit earlier about some of these relic choices we see coming out as the teleport was recently used. Cheerio, once again, though, with the blink, he's going to be the only one who's going to be going in, being that initiator for them. That's what Cheerio's done all set. So that's what sort of surprised me. In every game, it felt like neither team's really changed their strategy much, and neither team's really adjusted much either. They're just kind of doing their own thing, just forcing it.
The only real adaptation here, Cheerio's almost dead.
Cheerio is in trouble up into the Taiko drums, goes Pretty Prime immediately, followed up by Dardes with his own ultimate. That's enough to slow down the pressure, and Cheerio gets away.
Well, Prime really missed his ultimate quite a bit on Cheerio there. Cheerio should have died, but Prime missed one. I think it was the second drum of the Taiko drums. If that would have connected, it could have been a bit of a different story. But you see the adaptation that Nox is going to bring to Elevate here. A little bit different than what we've seen before, because not only of, like, yes, you were mentioning Cheerio is the only real engage for this team, but Obey's actual engage gets limited too because they have to play around the Nox a little bit more, which means that when you did see like Xaylia running in there charging on the Sobek last game, he can't do the same sort of thing because, you know, Darla's going to be like, no, I'm a root, yeah. Nope, I'm a silencer. Like, just limit the options a little bit. So could be a bit of a stalemate now and again between these two.
And they do seem to be continually focusing out Cheerio here in this game. That seems to be the call for him. And it hadn't worked out for him too far since the beginnings of Game 1, it seems like. In the beginnings of Game 1, focusing Cheerio, yes. Ever since then, though, it feels like that is the one adjustment they've made. Elevate's been able to respond.
And now we're just going to sit here in the chess match once again. Like, it started off very similar to how Game 2 started. Keep an eye on him, Millsy, looking for the individual plays. That's where we saw the kills last time. This game so far, only killed Cheerio a little bit too deep early on as a Kubrakan.
It feels a little stubborn from these two teams. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but it feels like they're saying, we know we can make this work, and we're going to do it.
And to be fair, both teams have shown that they can make these compositions work for themselves. In Game 1 and Game 2 specifically, you saw exactly that scenario. Both teams will be looking at, like, we made mistakes. Like, I spoke to Hazer in the little break we had there between them. Hazer's like, should have won both games. I'm like, yeah, but both teams should have as well. You both made mistakes that shouldn't have happened, and that's what happens in these games. Sometimes everyone's going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
That's how pro players play. It's like whoever makes the least mistakes generally the ones that win.
Whoever wins the last team fight, right, Graham? Come on, let's keep it going with all this hot analysis here coming out. Oh, yeah.
The hottest of analysis.
So far, but yeah. I still think it's kind of a problem that they've let Pretty Prime keep going on with this right so far. He's been huge in every single game so far, topping up the player damage chart. I'm not sure if he was actually the top one, but he was sitting at 40K last time I looked last game. He's having a big impact for him, definitely to the point now where he knows that he can do whatever he wants to on it. And I'm saying if there's a split second where you're warming back up to using a god, where you're getting right back to 100% with them, then that's something they haven't done to Prime. They haven't made him readjust.
No, they haven't. And like Raijin's now in that spot similar to what Sol was a little while ago, where he's one of the consistent gods for the mid lane just because of the safety factor. Sol with the Disapparate was one of the big go-tos because she's always safe. Or like, hey, it's basically an extra beads that's get out of jail free card. Now you've got Raijin who has the same sort of thing now with the extra mobility from that teleport away.
As you said, Nox is kind of the one small adjustment.
It's the only change.
Here, that's the one that I think could potentially cause some problems here for Pretty Prime. But I don't think it's that they've been getting to Pretty Prime and not able to do anything. It's that they're having a hard time getting to him in particular. So I don't know if that's really the best one for him.
Well, I was thinking on the break as well, like when we looked at picks and bans in Game 3, they're still banning away this Naja from Cheerio.
Right.
And I think that what we've seen in the first two games and the third game is that both Elevate and Obey are happy in their position in terms of picks and bans of like Obey have wanted to be second pick every time. Elevate have also chosen to be first pick as well. So it's showing that they're happy with the sides. So why not leave this Naja up? Because then RTO and Naja are available, and then Elevate's got a decision. Do we really want this Naja for Cheerio, or do we want this RTO? Which one's prime? They're probably going to choose RTO, which means you take Naja for yourself. Ring toss in the team fights can be pretty useful against triple Guardians, especially when you've got a strong front line. That front line gets limited in mobility and gives the mobility to the Naja who can direct traffic and get to the back.
It's a little bit of time where you don't have to worry about them either if they choose to take them up with that ultimate, if they so choose, rather than using it on one of those carries. But they've also prioritized that RTO you brought up just now.
Yeah.
That's been the first pick for them. I think every game they're saying they're on the desk.
Well,
so
RTO
they really want it.
RTO seemed really solid so far in the games we've seen. I mean, obviously Game 1, Cheerio got really focused in the early game by that Nemesis over and over again and got picked apart. But then as the game went on, he showed the reasons he's on that squad. He showed what he's there to do, which is to disrupt, cause a nuisance, and then also survive longer than intended. That's what RTO will always do.
Now, Elevate took Game 1. That was a bit of a surprise for us when they took Game 1. Obey are a little bit closer to their win. Do you think if they take this one, is there anything to them kind of being on a bit of a roll there? That would be their second in a row.
And that is a good point. I think if Obey take this game, is looking likely, especially if it's not as close as the last two have been.
Right.
If Obey don't make the mistakes we've seen out of the first two games out of them, I think they should potentially snowball that into all three and get themselves to the higher expo. However, if this is a back and forth encounter, I don't think it really matters going into a game 4. I don't think Elevate will be too demoralized, but they could get demoralized this game if this one goes bad.
That's what Elevate have done such a good job of with this triple Guardian composition, is slowing the game down. They put themselves into a position every game where basically if they win one team fight, they can win the game, which is pretty good against Obey. If you put yourself in a 50-50 against Obey, then that's pretty good.
Definitely. And then one thing that we've seen more out of Obey as well is Obey are having to pick apart the compositions that Elevate are making.
Yeah.
So game 1, Elevate win, and they're like, okay, let's take away that Ho Yi. Let's not have Pantheon in that again because that was causing us problems. Okay, game 2, what do we do? All right, well, I guess we're going to have to deal with a little bit of a difference this time round of like what kind of tanks we're going to deal with the Ymir now coming through as well.
Yep.
And then game 3 is like, okay, now let's take away that Jing 10 because we have to ban the Ymir this game. So it's Obey adapting and then Elevate responding to the adaptations that Obey have made.
We are able to get back into the game one more time, though. Obey Alliance are up 1 kill, though. They're able to get that pick off on a Cheerio earlier on in the game. It seems to set them back just a little tiny bit behind Captain Twig with a little bit of a level lead, probably only about half a level or so. But that is something, though. Cheerio should not have died there.
No, he shouldn't have, but, you know, it's not all doom and gloom. It's not going to be over. The bad news is you got Prime's Warlock Sash a little bit earlier. Mentioned it in game 2 when that happened too, which means he's going to stack it up a little bit quicker, which makes him harder to kill. So Nox isn't going to be able to kill him with the ultimate or anything like that until at least the late stages. But generally, we'll see what sort of build Dardes ends up going for with this Nox support too. Will it be the same sort of supportive builds we've seen in the past, a little bit tankier? Or will he go for a little bit extra, a little bit more shazazz during these team fights and burst damage?
Shazazz, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I stole that one from Merlo. He said it off air.
Oh, I see. Yeah, trying to go for a little bit more damage there, maybe Dardes might. As we just bring a little bit of Merlot into the cast, nothing wrong with that. Chad will be happy at least.
Of course he will. I mean, it wasn't ShamWow, but I can't steal Italian words.
No. Oh, is that an Italian word?
I mean, I'm saying it is. I've never heard anyone outside of an Italian say it, so it must be an Italian word.
I've only heard Merlot say it, but I want to talk a little bit. Captain Twig has been hanging around this solo lane a lot this game, but no number's been playing so safe. They really haven't gotten anything from it.
Sure, but you know why they're handing around the right-hand side? He can't really fight against the Nox on the left-hand side.
Sure.
The amount of problems that is going to get created for Twig with only having beads up, he's going to have to burn his beads if he goes over there and gets caught once. His beads are definitely on cooldown. It's not the best situation for him to be in. So why not hang to the right-hand side where he knows he's safer? They've actually been chipping away at that tier 1 tower quite considerably of no numbers here so far. And shared experience with Xaylia, it's not doom and gloom.
No, it's not a problem. In fact, taking that down could open up a little bit more space for him on that side, free him up to be a little bit more aggressive, which is clearly what they wanted.
Well, if you think about how this is being played out too, Xaylia and Twig sharing experience means that they're level 11 and level 10 respectively. And then you've also got in the mid lane, you've got Prime and Mills, he's splitting waves there and splitting some jungle. Ataraxi's been pretty much left alone on the duo lane for the time being. So they're doing a 1-2-2 split. Then you look at Elevate, and it's been a little bit more of a 1-3-1 split so far this game. So when you look at the experience difference between the two teams, Obey are sharing the experience a little bit better because they're not 3-man splitting. They're only 2-man splitting at tops. Although it doesn't mean that their solo laner and their hunter should be, on paper, in theory, Elevate will get ahead in the solo lane based off that. But everywhere else, they're actually going to be behind.
And we talked a little bit earlier here, Graham, about how when the game goes slow like this, it kind of doesn't favor anybody in the late game. But I don't know if I still agree with what we were saying before. I kind of think it favors Elevate. Obey have shown how well they play with pressure, how well that they were able to move around the map and decide where to have team fights. So when that's not happening and Elevate get a coin flip in the late game, that's good against that's better than most situations against Obey.
I'll agree. I'm going to say favor Elevate a little bit more because we talked about game 1 where Obey were looking at trying to strangle out the game and put Panther way too far forward. What are you doing, son? Why were you that far forward? The smallest mistake in the world is going to cost him his life.
At least they do have to commit 3 ultimates to it, but either way, Captain Twig takes down the B and gets the second kill.
What's a B going to do on his own there? If he gets jumped on over a wall by anyone, he's dead. And that's exactly what happened there. Just 1 foot too far forward, or 1 little flight, I should say.
Plus, Bs have small ears, so those jumps were just too loud, Hindu. Yeah. He couldn't handle it.
It was mainly just too far forward. That's all that got him killed there. It also cost him his beads, which has relinquished a lot of pressure on mid now. AMC is going to play further back in this role as well. You're giggling at your own joke there.
I'm not.
I saw you smirking. Why are you smirking at your own joke?
I didn't.
It wasn't even that good.
It was hilarious.
It's only better if you don't smirk and you don't laugh at your own jokes. Okay?
They can't see I can smirk.
I'm telling them that you do. Okay.
Hindu's being the camera for you all while we're in game, so thank you, Hindu.
No problem. But now, because of the pressure on AMC, it's going to be Oracle attempt for Obey. Probably the first one. They've not had control of them so far.
Obey Alliance are trying to take it. Cheerio came up to have a little bit to say about it, but unable to slow him down. Obey do take both of them, get all that farm, and as you said, a little bit of that vision, which is maybe getting a little more important as we move towards 11-minute tier and start to get closer out of that early game.
Yeah, and you won't see Obey go too aggressive for a moment or two just because they use most of their ultimates in the mid lane on AMC.
Yeah.
They'll take him in just for those ults to come back available, get their own speed buff, get their own blue, clear out their camps, and then look for aggression again because Panther still going to be another 80 seconds until his ultimate's up, and Twigs already back available.
Yeah, he was just out for a little bit too far forward in there in mid, so that hurt him a bit, but as you said, not too much came from it right away. Yes, Obey Alliance were able to get that kill, but that's kind of how it's felt this game so far. Not just this game, this whole set. Maybe getting one or two kills and getting nothing out of it.
This is too far forward, and he's going to go for a wild ride.
Now he's getting taunted in by Serket, locking him down and using her last breath poison to pull her back in the cripple field, trying to shut down some of the damage, but it's just not enough. Once again, getting ganked.
Too far forward. It was the same story for AMC in the mid lane there. Walked too far forward. That time, Nonamus wasn't prepared for the opportunity of seeing Captain Twig on that side of the map. He should know that the speed buff was up around that time. They have those regular timers for the most part. They should have an idea that the speed buff was going to be potentially available just too far forward. And without the beads, if you remember, when we saw that matchup in reverse, when Zaylee was playing the RTO in that matchup, if I remember, he took the beads option there to make sure that he couldn't get hit by the whirlwind of Rage and Steel. Sorry, not the RTO. Who was he playing? Cabrakan.
Yeah. Well, either way, he committed underneath that tower on the right-hand side and weren't quite able to get it, so they went ahead and backed up. Cheerio had to rotate over to slow down some of their aggression. Emilzy going up against Death Panther and Dardas, actually looking to pull the B into him all alone. He knew he had Pretty Prime coming, and then Taiko Drums ready, though.
It's always scary with those pulls as well. Like, Emilzy's going to do that, and if Panther doesn't know where everybody is, which he didn't at that time, it's like, I may have to use my relic, which is just about to come up, to get away because I'm panicking and not realize that he's on his own. If it's a Sylvanas on his own and he knew that, Emilzy could have lost half his health easily there until Prime could even turn up to try and help.
Either way, not able to get that pull, so Death Panther is okay for the time being, and again, we should have moved back to parity, but this is what Obey's done well. They're chipping away a little bit at Elevate is what I'd say. They're finding these picks, they're finding these openings.
And that's happened in game 2 as well, and I expect it's going to go a similar way. I predicted 18 minutes for the first Gold Fury attempt realistically last game, and it was about 15. I think it's probably going to be about the same, but Obey trying to turn up the heat a little bit more. Jermaine approaching the forward line of the map again. And as soon as anyone over on Elevate go past the 50% mark on this map, it's like, no, 51%, that's our area. We own this area. You're not allowed here.
Obey Alliance, those calls have been pretty clean. If they, like you said, if they see someone, they're all coming all the way over. Pretty Prime was there for that one too, to try and help make something happen against Jermaine, who recognized it and did back up. Take a look at, there's not a whole lot of vision on this left-hand side. Elevate have that one ward kind of up near the top to see what's going on between those camps, so that's about it as Oracles come back. Yeah,
Elevate's position in terms of ward placements around the Gold Fury isn't too bad, but the Sentry Ward wars were actually pretty big there, which goes in Obey's favor.
And they do end up splitting these Oracles too, so neither one gets both of them. Just kind of trade that out and back it up. So Elevator happy, they didn't lose anybody.
It's funny enough, when we saw No Numbers die there as well, I thought it was the first time he ever walked forward too. If you notice, he was sat under his tower the whole time. His tower's no longer there, but he walked forward for the first time and then died, which shows you, like, damn it.
That's what I was going to say. He'd been so patient the whole game. It was too bad that he got taken out for that. Looks like the pings are coming out. Pretty Prime actually using the Thunder Crash. They want to go in.
Yeah, as soon as the Thunder Crash was used there by Prime, you saw Dardas immediately dash away, realizing that the Drums of War could have followed that up straight away with a taunt, and you're going to be in trouble. Dardas, though, going for the Breastplate of Valor, cooldown reduction with the Shoes of the Magi as well. Going to be useful for that. Sorry, Shoes of Focus is keeping him cooldown focused on this mage, just to make sure he can get the rotations up as much as possible of his abilities.
And you are wondering, was he going to go more supportive or try and get a little bit of whatever?
Well, yeah.
Instead, he chose to go, though, with that defensive build, so he is going to be a little bit more survivable.
And he might actually twist it up now. After this next item, it's going to be a bit more protection for himself, but after that, he may go for a little bit in terms of damage options as well, just to provide a little bit more in these team fights, a little bit of magical extra pressure that Cherio will be bringing too, granted, but it's not the same level as a mage can really bring.
That's true, and Dardas has been kind of a focus, even when he's on someone tanky like an Amir in the games. Usually it's Cheerio, but if not Cheerio, it's felt like they would take Dardas instead. And so now that he's on that Nox, it actually is going to be a little bit easier to finish him off, but Gold Fury already being started up.
And they're in good position for Obey to be in. They caught Elevate napping. They all went back to base at the worst possible time. This could be dead before anyone even gets here.
Jermaine, though, I did hear him go up into the air, so I think he might be trying to contest it.
Oh, he got it! He got it!
And he's stolen away, Jermaine, with the snipes.
Oh my goodness me. They played it so well there, Obey. They caught Elevate napping. The backs came through at the worst possible time, but then an individual player, Jermaine, actually turns that around, and now Obey are angry.
Yeah, Captain Twig's looking for more, going in onto Dardas, as I said, pulling him in with the Taiko drums. Twig takes way too much damage, falls to Cheerio. Immediately gets the return kill onto Dardas, and now there's two people stuck in the tremors.
Hunter's coming out. Ataraxia turns up just in time. Sun's rain down too. Looking for Cheerio too. Gets a great stun. So Jermaine takes that one. Looks towards Ataraxia. Panther picks that up, and the Hunters came to play today.
Death Panther was just free casting over there on the right. He was able to just rain in the damage from the B. That means now 3 members fall for Obey, only 2 for Elevate, and Elevate think that's enough to come pull the portal, maybe trying to bait in Prime.
And that was kind of like Obey got angry in that situation.
They forced it.
Damn it, we lost the Gold Fury. Try and kill someone, try to make it something worthwhile. And in the end, they lose more than they bargained for. An additional 3 kills to 2 and the Gold Fury. Elevate in a great position. Plus, not only that, Ataraxia dies in that engagement after getting the kill. Jermaine turns up, gets the kill, continues to be able to farm.
But that does show that about what kind of lead Obey had, losing the Gold Fury, losing the fight there, and it's only even now. Elevate kind of climbed back just to even.
But then if you look at the grass, I mean, that was an extended thing of like the gold share and the way they did it of the 1-2-2 as we were discussing, the tier 1 tower going down, and the first blood, when you add those together just on its own, that's where that gold really was. So the Gold Fury just evens it up for the time being.
And that's what Elevate needed. That's what Elevate have been doing so well all this set. If Obey Alliance have been doing a good job of chipping, then Elevate have been doing a good job covering those chips back up.
Exactly. They're just like filling in the gaps straight away. Every single time. And the worst thing is that Obey want to get aggressive, but every time Obey get aggressive, Elevate turn it around. And Obey are going to start second-guessing themselves the longer and longer the set goes on, too. Because like every time you try and go in, it's not working out. Should we let them engage? And in doing that, that might work out well in some ways, but it does allow Elevate to be on the front foot.
It does feel a little bit like Elevate is consistently playing their game, at least. They're choosing this tanky composition that's hard to kill, and when Obey Alliance try and kill them, Elevate's like, well, we're hard to kill. Like, come on, what do you...
I mean, you got to get to the back line first,
yeah,
right? When you try and get to the back line, that's where the AMC and the Rama are just slamming you in the face. They've done it every game of these Hunters so far.
They've done a good job of it. Emilzy, though, again, going to be the initiator for him, working along with Captain Tuig, who we saw actually start that last fight there in mid. He was the one that first blinked in. They both got blinks for him. Still only Cherio this game for Elevate who's got that blink. They've been relying on either counter-initiating or what Cherio can set.
And that's the key, is that Obey are kind of playing it to what Elevate want them to do. They don't have much initiation. Outside of Dardes, really, with that range silence root combination, if that doesn't connect, they don't really have much outside the blink. So why not let Obey come onto them and then react? Obey trying to force a portal demon now.
That's what it looks like, but everyone's here from Elevate. Even Jermaine is lurking in the back, and we know that even from there, he can help with that ultimate. We saw him last time steal the Gold Fury. Obey Alliance, after the strong response from Elevate, don't want to go for it. Jermaine actually goes up into the air, though, because Ataraxia is already low. Gets 2 snipes, but not enough.
Good
Comes
damage.
back in and puts the last one on to Captain Twig, but there comes the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel.
And now the follow-up could be available for Elevate, because Ataraxia is out of the fight. Twig goes in on Dardes, looking to get onto Cherio, gets him, but gets autoed down by Panther. Ataraxia over the wall will drop the Suns down to slow down Elevate's advance, but the damage has been done.
Emilzy pulls no numbers back in. Horrific Emblem, I think, came out as well. He does use the dash, though, so he's able to get out before he gets hit by any more damage. Portal Demon below half health, and they don't have a ROM to go up and snipe it. Elevate, take it away.
And once again, Elevate come out on top on the engagement. The big play there really was Jermaine snipes onto Ataraxia, took Ataraxia out of the fight immediately. Yeah. He didn't invest a third auto just to get him really low, but just that pressure enough was to make sure Ataraxia couldn't get involved, which meant 4v5 straight away. Ataraxia actually has bombers, went to the back harpies to try and get some health back. As that's going on, that's where we saw the man fall down, Captain Twig, because they were still busy in the engagement.
And that's what happened. It felt like Captain Twig did go in, that was fine, but there was no damage because Ataraxia wasn't there yet. Pretty Prime is here, but he's not crushing just yet. He's not hitting that hard just yet. So this is where Elevate's tankier composition works out for them. Now, looking to try and start up this Fire Giants, Obey Alliance gonna have to try and slow it down.
And once again, it's about this little funnel where you can see Twig and Emilzy standing through no numbers, and Cherio will be happy to see them walk in there and drop the ultimate down from Cherio if they can, while no numbers just keeps them all busy.
Now it's No Numbers who is going into the front, trying to get Pretty Prime. They found a way to walk to the back line now, but Pretty Prime able to get away.
They've got Xaylia on his own. Xaylia's going to be forced to ult defensively there for the time being, and now Prime has to disengage again. Good news is, Elevate don't have the Fire Giant for now, but Obey trying to stand their ground with Xaylia being forced back to base.
And Elevate are just going to keep forcing it over here on this Fire Giant. They'll pull it. If Obey don't respond, they'll take it. If they do, they'll kill. Up into the Aegis Jermaine. Aegis actually immunes out the first shot, but Cherio cleans up Ataraxia. Already got rid of the Hunter. Emilzy, the tree, able to walk through. Pretty Prime just pushing them back with the Taiko drums. That way they don't lose too much.
Every time Prime ults, the Elevate just scatter, but Ataraxia walked too far forward. Immediately, Jermaine trusted in Cherio and commits. However, now Obey trying to turn it around on the tags, but Twig's done it again!
Twig gets caught out there by Dardes. I know Jermaine got the credit, but it felt like Dardes set that up 100%. A second kill goes the way of Elevate, and they once again turn their attention back to the Fire Giant. Only Emilzy and Xaylia who are here to say anything about it.
Got to get a pause again out of Emilzy here during this engagement. Bit crazy here, Finch.
Oh no, this has been crazy, this last fight. What it feels like to me is that OB Alliance, unless they get a pick, they're having a really hard time winning these team fights.
They are, and the funny thing is I'm looking at this game and I'm like, I would have rather seen Dardes on Ymir. If I'm Obey, I'm an Obey fan, I'm like, maybe we should just give him the Ymir again. Like, this Nox is causing us way more problems than we really want to bargain for.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can see these silence fields and these gaps are shutting down Circuit getting in there to do the damage he wants to.
Yeah, it's limiting what Captain Toy can do as far as the back line. That's what worked for them so well last game. That was the adjustment they made.
Exactly.
Instead of having, Nemesis try and shut down the front line, go to the back. Well, now they can't do it.
No, they can't, and that's the big key, is they have Circuit to get to that back line, but Dardes is literally not engaged anymore. On the Ymir, he's running forward, he's trying to find the walls, he's trying to find the freezes every time. On the Nox, he's like, I'm just going to sit back. Oh, you're going for my carry? Let me just silence you there. Just stop there for a second and think about what you're trying to do.
He doesn't have to go forward. I mean, he's no numbers is on the RDO.
Yep.
I don't know what more backline disruption you could want than RDO, though. Between the stun and the cripple and the heal and the root, I mean, he's got it all.
I think Obey, maybe, like, if they do lose this game, which is looking in favor of Elevate so far, I'm not going to count them out at all because of how these games have been back and forth, but maybe it's time to just ban
we're not
RTO.
at 50 minutes yet, so this can't end.
Maybe it's almost time to ban RTO if that's the case. Like,
Sure.
if it's first pick every single time and everybody on the team seems to be willing to play it for Elevate, maybe just take that away, Maybe this whole triple Guardian comp, this big front line that they've been looking for Elevate every single time, isn't going to be available with the double Hunters if they don't have this RTO for the extra sustain.
The RDO is a big part of it. The RDO can get back there and disrupt that back line so successfully, yes. But like you said, when they are allowed to do this sort of slower game, when they can stall it out, get those Hunters online to the point where they're chunking, then I don't know if it's just the RDO that's enough.
Well, the funny thing is that at the end of the day, the early game isn't as important as it once was during the season too. A long time ago, like at the start of the year, it was very much focused on if you get the early game advantage, you can snowball out of control and crush it.
Sure.
Gold Fury's come down in terms of how much you can get from that. Same can be said for a Portal Demon too, which means that the amount of experience you can get during the early game is very easy for you to, not easy, but it's easier to come back into this game if you are further behind.
Yeah, what happens now is like, yeah, you're right. You don't win out that one rotation, but it does give you the timer. So if you can successfully keep invading or successfully keep the pressure, then yes, that early game is important. But you're right. There's way more opportunities now for you to come in and sort of shut down that pressure.
And if you don't win, if the early game is not so important, it means that these Hunters can get towards the full build in the mid game. Hunter build's a little bit on the cheaper side, as everyone's been discussing. May just take a little bit longer to ramp up, but they can still put out consistent damage too.
In particular, if they go that attack speed pen build, which is what I think we've been seeing from this AMC ROM combo that we've been seeing from him here lately on Jermaine as well as on Death Panther. And let's take a moment to talk about how well Death Panther's been playing here.
I think Death Panther's had a fantastic start. I actually think Death Panther's had probably the best year of his career so far.
Yeah.
He worked out well for himself last year, but going forward, like, he's just getting better and better. It's funny to see players don't really get to be shown how good they can be until they're with other people of at least their level.
That's true.
Sometimes on weaker teams, you'll sometimes see that it's not really the case whatsoever. Fire Giant's going to go down. Obviously, that was unsurprising to me because obviously Twig was already dead, as was Ataraxia. That was just a fallout after the fact.
Yeah, sometimes, Portal Team, or Fire Giant rather, just goes down, and that's what happens here for Elevate. Don't forget, though, what I think probably helped set this all in motion is that Tier 1 tower in right falls. Obey had pressure. Obey sneaks a Gold Fury, but Jermaine goes up with the snipe and steals it away. That kind of turned things on its head.
Well, we saw Jermaine get his Rama banned away in Game 1. I wonder why. Because he's showing exactly why right now. Did it in Game 2, even though they did lose that one. Did it in Game 2, and now doing it again in Game 3. Jermaine is a danger man. He is dangerous. So many people talked about him being potentially one of the best hunters in the world. He's just not had a team around him to bring it apart. The same way with Death Panther. Actually, most of the members of this team, if you think about him through the years, Cherio's been trying to make his way through the scene but never really found a home. And now he's found one with the French boys and the Dutchman in the mid lane. And together they're flying away.
This is a squad full of players that, as you said, we've always known. It feels like almost all of them have at one point been the guy on their team. Like, for a while, it was like Cheerio was the only guy for a while, and we knew he could carry if we got the chance. Now they're sort of coalescing.
They've all been on poop teams as well. I'm going to call it poop because it's the politest way for broadcast terms. But when you think about Jermaine and Dardes, the Myrmidons. Where did they come? 7th, 8th every single time. Cheerio, how many teams has been in on? All the way from the leftovers, if you remember those.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Where were they? 7th, 8th position. Death Panther, same sort of thing. 7th, 8th position. This split is the one where they started to turn up and find traction together as a unit. They took 4th spot above energy.
Above energy, that's
Above
right.
energy. That's a big key to mention there. And they took games of energy too. Like, this team is here to play. And that's why most of you are fearing them, because they just don't know what they're going to be dealing with.
Tier 2 tower in left falls. Tier 2 in mid and right are exposed and there for the taking as well. And that's what it looks like to be the group up here for Tier 2 in mid. But Obey Alliance are pushing forward kind of aggressively. They don't want to give this one up. Ataraxia in the back line, though, trying to stay safe from some of this control.
Has to, and Twig's going to try and time it well. Dodgers has got to be careful with throwing out the silence in the route, though. He is looking to set up for his team, but if he keeps doing that over and over again, that's a go sign potentially for Obey straight after. The good news is the bees. I always mention the bees because the bees cause so many problems for a team. Keeps you in combat, spreads to a teammate, and the big key, keeps you in combat. If they stay in combat, they can't use the blinks to engage with Sylvanas or Sir Cat.
The minion wave is here, and that was enough for him to go in. Ataraxia already very low. Emilzy goes in and look for the knockup, but Jermaine just goes right up into the air. Pre-Prime actually has 2 members there under the tower, but No Number's so tanky, he just walks away. Captain Twig jumps in, catches No Numbers, and actually ends up falling. Jermaine gets credit for that. No Numbers lives through the poison as well. Now Tyrael locks down Emilzy, and they take the tier 2 in mid.
And now Paraim in a lot of trouble too, Cherry, with the follow-up CC, which allows Jermaine and Panther to take him away. Teleport comes through from No Numbers as well. After he nearly fell down, this will be a Phoenix.
It feels like Elevator just doing their own
thing. If they get him, they might win.
Ataraxia actually is in a lot of trouble here, too.
If they can kill him, they can win.
Ataraxia is taken down. Jermaine gets credit for that one, and it looks like that is going to be the call here, Hindu Man. They're going in to try and take game 3
no
and go up 2-1 over Obey Alliance. What is happening?
What a turnaround from Elevate in that fight overall. That one engagement around the fire